What's up, everybody? It's time for another episode of Monday Musings. I'm pre-recording this one on Saturday, April 2nd at about 4:30, in the afternoon. A little bit of a burp there. I got a fresh cup of coffee. My kitty cat, I say my kitty cat, it's our adopted kitty cat, is in here. It's like 100 degrees outside, and I've got it about 76 degrees or so here in the office. And she just came in here like just panting because she's so hot. So let's see if she hangs out for a bit. Um, Welcome. If you don't know who I am, fix my mic. I'm Tim Anderson, aka Renfell, and you've stumbled upon, if it's your first time here, my Monday vlog where I talk about life in general, as well as what I'm working on with Weave in the Void with Chris and my brother, um, and other stuff. So cool. And if you're a returning visitor, yeah, you know what this is all about. Let's dive in. I think this is the, I don't even know, second episode since we moved into our new home. Maybe third. I think it's the third, actually. Let's see. This is the 4th, 28th, and the 18th. Yeah, it's the third episode since we moved into the new home. Settling in. Got the office pretty much set up now. Um, Took a little bit to get the map to stick to the wall. The walls we have not repainted, but that's a work in progress. It's just some water-based paint on top of concrete plaster, and nothing was wanting to stick, and I didn't feel like driving holes into the wall, so the short-term solution was hot glue, baby. It worked. However, it will, that I'm not sure how I'll get that off when it's time to get it off. I mean, it'll come off the wall fine. That's easy. It's the getting off the map part. But long term, Chris and I are going to go get a carpenter to put a frame around that, and I'll actually get it framed and then drive a nail in the wall and hang it. But for the meantime, I got that up there. Got a couple other arm, couple Lego sets that I bought around Christmas time up there. My PS4 is down. If I can figure out how to move my finger. There is my PS4. Why can't I do? There we go. That's better. I have the hiccups. PS4 is down there along with my Echoes of the Past book, and behind the Echoes of the Past book is the Bloody Knuckles anthology. So if you like to read that kind of stuff, you know where to go. The links are down there. And then up there is Christina's box set of The Lord of the Rings in Spanish, which honestly I should probably tackle at some point to try to read it in Spanish and see how I fare. We'll see. Um, I almost lost my beard last week, everybody. It would have been a travesty, but here's the short version. Chris and I were doing some work. There's a window. I haven't shown anybody the full office yet, but there's a window here right behind me on this wall. And it's we didn't want the window there, but I don't want to have to take the time or spend the money right now to just knock the window out and re-block that area. So the short-term solution was, well, let's just put something up on the outside to block the window, block the light and most of the heat as much as we can, because this is a west-facing window. Um, but there is some trees and another building on the other side, so we don't get a ton of sun over here. Only about 2 hours in the afternoon. But it's the light was the big thing. So Chris and I were out there, repainting everything, cleaning, repainting the frame and everything else, and then putting up this cardboard and plastic thing that we put together, and then spray foam around the edge. So I'm up on a couple of rocks, and it's a narrow gap between our house and the next house over. There's like an 18-inch gap between these two buildings. So I'm kind of shimmied in there. Um, and I'm up on a couple of rocks, reaching way above my head to get the top edge of the window with the spray foam. It's windy as hell out, and Chris had gone over a few minutes earlier, just doing general cleaning, and had lifted up the top of the cistern. It's not a cistern, sorry. It's like the area of the drain pipes. It's not a septic tank, but it's a drain pipe from our drain to the city drain out on the street, just to general checkup and everything else as we're working around outside. And then she had taken a can of spray and just sprayed everything in there. And like, I'm not joking when I say 150 cockroaches came scurrying out of there. And like, I'm talking 2-inch bastards, and they're winged and they fly. I sent my brother a video, and he couldn't believe how big they were. And so I'm up there spraying. There's wind, and I'm on top of this rocks, just kind of precariously balanced myself because you can't get a ladder in there or anything else because it's only an 18-inch space. And as I'm spraying, a cockroach crawls up my back underneath my shirt, and I do the shimmy and squeak a little bit. And as I do that, there's wind coming down the tunnel, and I'm spraying foam at the same time, and a chunk of foam went from there and fell, and I went ah, and it hit me. I've got the shirt. I'll have to show you guys the shirt one of these days, but it got me on the shirt right on my upper belly, and about 3 inches below the beard. And I immediately was like, got rid of this cockroach, pulled my beard to one side, and was like, don't touch nothing. If you've never worked with spray foam, everybody, spray foam is super, super, super sticky, and if it gets on, that shirt's ruined, by the way. The pants I'm wearing also got it, but the piece of foam hit my belly and then rolled down the shirt and the pair of shorts that I'm wearing, which we have washed, but they have a nice like a spackle to the right leg now. They're just my inside shorts for hanging out around the house and construction stuff. So, um, if that would have landed in my beard, I would have had to shear the beard because that stuff does not, you can't wash it out. It's once it hits something, it sticks, and there's no washing it out. So thankfully it didn't happen. Um, we'll see. Um, been doing a little bit of sort of trying to I'm gonna have to probably readjust my schedule a little bit. I really like doing my early morning streams with coffee, but the reality is there's so much housework here that needs to be done, and the only time to realistically do it is early in the morning. Because by 9 o'clock it's already 85, 87 degrees out, and it's just hot, and then it's been getting up to around 100. I mean, it's an oven outside right now. And if it weren't for the AC in here, this would be an oven. It's uh, it's nice in here, but it's because I run the AC in here. Um, but I got to get yard work done, and so what I've been doing is getting up early the last couple of days, and I'm out the door by 5:30, 5:45. I'm getting up early anyway, just because there's chickens and dogs and other stuff around here, and small animals and things like that, which my sleep schedule is way different here than it was in the city. So as a result, I'm up naturally anyway at that hour, and um, getting yard work done. So the other day, for example, I've shared some YouTube shorts. You can watch those. But I haven't done the full documentary videos yet, which I'll eventually start putting some of those together for YouTube. And there was a chicken coop here from the previous owners. And what they had done for the base is they had just put some old cinder block, solid block, and like chunks of broken block, and had formed this base. And then they had their chicken coop on top of that. Um, well, what I did is I took that base down because what I want to do is I'm going to take all that block, or at least the block that I can use, um, and we're going to use that. There's the outside perimeter of the back side of the house has like a sidewalk around it. It's not really a sidewalk, but that's the easiest way to explain it. It's part of the slab that extends out past the house, and it's about the width of a sidewalk, and it goes around the entire edge of the house. Right now, anytime it rains, we just get water and mud up on side of the house. So the like 4 foot up the house, it's just covered in mud and discolored. There's no point in cleaning it right yet because until we build some sort of a retaining wall there, the water's just going to continue to come up and hit the side of the house. So that idea is, at the very least, in the meantime, what we would like to do is take the block that we pulled out of there and put at the very least a row of, it's only 6 inches high, if that, but a row of block all the way around that edging around the edge of the house so that when it does rain, that'll keep the bulk of this overspray, and then it'll still get some on the house, but that's just a good start. And then later this year, as we continue to figure out what we're going to do long term, we'll end up um, buying more block and building an actual retaining wall, which I'll probably end up building something about 4 foot tall, and that will go all the way around the edge of the outside edge of the house. And then we'll have one exit point into the yard right from the kitchen, and then around the left is where I'm going to build an outdoor kitchen, which is just on the outside edge of our indoor kitchen, but I'm going to build an outdoor area with an outdoor grill and a um, brick oven. So those are going to go outside. So I got plans to build all this stuff, but that's all long-term stuff. Short-term was breaking down that chicken coop pad, getting those out, and then what was left was I ended up having a nice, like about a wheelbarrow load of chicken manure that has now turned into nice dirt fertilizer. So I took that, and that was one day's project. The next day was, which was this morning, I took that all that dirt and threw it out across where we're going to put our garden so that we have a fresh layer of fertilizer across all that. And then we started a compost heap out back. Nothing big at the moment because we don't have a ton of waste, but like eggshells, coffee grounds, limes, lemons, those sort of residues from organics. Put it out on a pile. The kitty cat here, I'll show you real quick if I don't screw up the camera if I can. She's down there in here resting. Um, she's been getting scraps, so I'm a big believer in just giving cats what I eat. I don't like to give animals croquettes or dried food or even canned food if I can help it. Um, I think I may have mentioned this in a previous episode. Just I've had way too many friends and etc. whose animals have gotten sick with cancer way too young because they eat all that stuff. So she eats what we eat. So she's been getting not just what we eat. Instead of getting her canned food, I just get her. She gets a can of tuna every day. Um, and then she gets scrap from Chris and I. So she'll get a couple pieces of lunch meat every day, a couple pieces of cheese here and there, some scrambled eggs, um, chicken skin and chicken, and if we have steak, she gets the fat and then whatever's left over from some of the steak. So she's eating very well. And Chris went and took a look at the abandoned house where she's at. We can't get into it, unfortunately, but Chris saw at least one of the babies. Looks about 3 weeks old. So I'm convinced that she had her babies like a few days before we showed up because her tummy was still distended when she showed up here looking for food, and I thought she was still pregnant. And I think the next day or the day after was when I noticed that her tits had been suckled on and the hair was swirled around them and they were still wet. So I was like, oh, her babies are right nearby and she's already had her babies. Um, so um, that might be my brother checking. Let me answer him real quick. So far, so good, man. I've been taking it light today, so hopefully no issues. But yesterday it was good up until about 6:30, 7 o'clock. So we'll know more. Well, that's my time, so that would be around 8 o'clock your time. So I think it's like 5 your time? No, it's 5 my time. So it's 6 your time. So what time do you want to start? I should be good to go. That's my brother for Minecraft tonight with my nephew because we haven't played Minecraft in like 5 or 6 weeks because of the move and getting internet set up and everything else. So probably be playing Minecraft tonight. So that's on the home front. We went out this morning and I got a level and a hose for the backyard, and Chris watered everything on the backyard. We went and walked and found a store that sells an extension ladder. Um, so I'm gonna go buy one of those on Tuesday or Wednesday, I think, of next week. And then once I get one of those, I get to go up on the roof and scout that out and see what needs to be fixed. Because that's the number one thing. The yard work is as we have time. but the roof has to be taken care of pretty quick because the rainy season starts in May, and I need to get that fixed before because I don't want to deal with the leak and other stuff. And so it's got to be cleaned. It's got to be um, um, what am I blanking on the terminology? I got to fill the low spots. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find self-leveling compound here, but at the very least I could put concrete up there and just fill in the gaps. And once that's all been done, I gotta paint the whole thing with waterproofing. So that's my number one priority for the month of April. Now that we're into April, and all the homeowner stuff, which I've never had to do before, so that's an interesting side note. But because of all of this, I'm not going up there after like 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning because holy crap, is it hot outside? Like we went this morning, and we went and walked and did some errands this morning. We got back by 9:15, and I was drenched in sweat. It was like, yeah, any yard work that has to be done, I'm doing it like 5:30 to 7:30 in the morning, 8 o'clock somewhere in there. But 9 o'clock is my cutoff point. So because of that, I don't know that I'm going to continue to do the coffee streams anymore. At least not every day. I might just keep those to the weekends. Um, on the weekdays, I'm probably going to be streaming from. I know on Monday nights and Tuesday nights, I'm going to be playing. The plan is to start playing Xbox with Gila, and I think Kel Randon's going to join us. We're going to start playing Sea of. Is it called Sea of Thieves? I think on Monday night, tonight that this is airing. Um, and yeah, we just finished up Alien Firestrike, which was a hell of a lot of fun. It was short but fun. I'm glad I played through that. So next up though is Sea of Thieves, which I've never played. I'm looking forward to that. So I'm at least gonna stream Mondays and Tuesday nights, and I should be able to keep streaming Thursday nights, Friday nights, and Saturday nights. But the coffee streams aren't gonna happen, I don't think, for the foreseeable future because I just got too much new homeowner stuff to do to get the house ready ahead of the rainy season, and then we got a garden. Well, once the rainy season hits, it'll be I might be able to do it during the rainy season, but then we after the rainy season is getting a garden planted and um, other stuff that has to be done. Chris has been while I'm in here in the AC. Chris doesn't feel the heat like I do because she was born here, so she's been out painting doors and painting stuff while I'm here making videos and working on Weave in the Void stuff. She today was painting the kitchen, all the shelves and everything else. So um, tag teaming. I do my stuff early in the morning and then I come in here and work all day. So that's on the home front. On the YouTube front, today is the start of a new series on YouTube for me called. I love my Monday shows, Monday Musings, Mondays in MMORPGs, and now Mondays in Middle Earth. The first episode goes live today at 11 a.m. Central, and we are diving into The Hobbit. And then from here, every Monday at 11 a.m. Central, I have a new episode out. I am currently reading my way through The Fellowship of the Ring. We're going to be going through The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, The Return of the King, and then The Silmarillion. And if I have time after that, as we're leading up to the Rings of Power and wanting to dissect that show even further than I already have, I'm hopefully going to be reading like On Middle Earth and some stuff by Tom Shippey and some other books. And I'm looking forward to having other people on the show to talk about all things Tolkien, have some guests. But in the meantime, that's the new show that's starting. Um, all the first episode had already been pre-recorded, and I'll be recording the second episode soon. Um, I just finished the first chapter of the Fellowship of the Ring last night, um, and it was taking a bunch of notes because this is somewhat of a first time I've read it in 20 years situation, but also when I read it 20 years ago, if you've watched the video I did the other day, which you should do that because I introduced the series and I talk about this in greater detail. Um, the last, I grew up with Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, and I loved reading them, and I was fascinated with them, but I never like dove into all of this background stuff because the internet really wasn't available when I was growing up, right? Like we had the internet, but it wasn't like it is today where you can go find anything and everything you want. So the ability for me to go and research like you can today didn't exist back then. So now, being able to actually dive in and start to research these topics and study things from a scholarly perspective is something that fascinates me. And I really want to learn more as we dive into the Rings of Power because there's so many of these so-called Tolkien experts out there who's they're saying things that I'm just like, I do not remember that at all from the books. Where are you getting that from? And then I'm finding out that they're getting their source material not from the books, from letters and other publications, and I'm just not into that. Like, I'm of the opinion that if it was published in a book, then that's canon. If it's from letters and other stuff, that's like I have so many notes that I take and drafts of different things. The only thing that matters to me is what's published. Once it gets published and pushed out the door, that's canon. um, all my notes and everything else become moot at that point. Like they're of interest to me, but I wouldn't expect someone else to come along and use those as some sort of a of proof that what I really meant to say in the published book was this, because that's what I wrote in the notes. That's the bullshit that I'm not really a big fan of. So that's one of the reasons I just want to read and educate myself more on all things Tolkien. So that's happening. So make sure you check that episode out later today. You can probably hear some music in the background, maybe. There's either a wedding or a quinceanera happening. Quinceana is payday. Sorry. Uh, it's either somebody's 15th birthday or a wedding going on. There's been music since like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's like 3 doors down, 3 yards down. So they're having a big party today. Um, let's see. Beyond the gaming front, I'm having a hell of a good time in Lord of the Rings Online, and the changes that are coming in April with Update 33. I'm gonna go ahead and drop Christina's account back to a free-to-play account because she's not playing that much, and she's not gonna be playing that much because of all the housework and then all the Weave and Void stuff she's got to do. But I'm gonna be continuing to. That's gonna be my number one streaming game all this summer. I'm just gonna be streaming Lotro almost every single, not every single day, but almost every single day. Once I figure out my streaming routine as it moves away from the early morning coffee streams to something more like 11 o'clock or something, um, I'm gonna be doing a lot more Lotro. I'm really having fun with my lore master in Rohan right now, and I just want to get through Rohan. And knowing that I'm going to be able to have Helm's Deep as a VIP subscriber by the end of the month, and I don't have to go out and buy it anymore. I can just have my VIP. Makes me just want to. I'm just going to keep my VIP sub going, and I'm just going to roll right on through. So that's pretty cool. I'm really looking forward to that a lot. I am really behind on all my shows. I have not watched the final season of The Expanse. Um, I haven't finished Masters of the Universe, the second half. Um, I haven't watched the Halo show yet, but I would rather wait for that to fully finish airing. I need to watch the latest season of Discovery, Star Trek Discovery. I haven't watched Picard. Like I'm so far behind on all of these shows because we were moving, and also shows take up a lot of time. And I've been trying to do a lot more reading combined with video production and everything else because I am trying really hard, um, at least for the meantime, because I'm so focused on getting all the housework done and everything else, um, and Weave and Void stuff. I'm full time on YouTube production, streaming, and Weave and the Void with housework. So I've been just going full bore at that rather than watching a bunch of TV shows because um, the more content I produce and the better quality is, the more money I can make. And since I'm not wanting to go look for work at the moment, unless I see something that jumps out at me and says that might be a fun job. I think I talked about this last week. I've been in the workforce for so long. I'm kind of ready to retire and just do my own stuff from here on out. I know that sounds weird because I'm only 42, but I started working when I was like 5 years old. So I've been on construction job sites and growing up on a ranch. Like I did not have a traditional city person childhood. I didn't enter the workforce at 25. I entered the workforce at 5. I got kicked out when I was 15, and I've been working full time, since then. And so there's yeah, we'll see how that all goes. Don't forget patreon.com/wandering hermits. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. That's a great way, and you get a lot of cool perks. that world map back there. That's a great segue. Let's transition into Weave in the Void. If you have not paid attention to the social media for Weave in the Void or the Discord, or the community page here on my own personal YouTube where I've spammed a couple of things, get with the program, man. I as I'm pre-recording this, Friday the 1st of April, I finished after it took me 3 days to do the first art pass. But I got not all, I got all of the art that I needed from Christina into the source book. She has more artwork, which is going into the module, but got her artwork into the source book, and I got everything that Nathan has done to date into the source book, and got that to Bounty Code, Sparrow, Nathan, and Simmerg as a draft 2.0. I shared a screenshot out of the first, I think, 8 pages of the source book, sort of in a layout form to show people how some of the artwork looks as it's been laid into that. So the source book, and I did finalize the decision. I'm putting the module because it is sort of a prologue that goes along with it goes along with part one of book one from the Patreon, which is the Escape from Parthana. I put the module into the source book, so we're going to be selling the source book with the module inside of it as a ready to go adventure for people who pick up that source book. Originally, I was going to do those as two separate books, but as of today, anyway, I've put it in um, so that it's all there. The reasoning for that is because after Joey and I talked a lot about it, it was just kind of a situation where that campaign module is only meant to be like level 1 to 4, and when you get to the end of it, you'll be level 4, and you're ready to then start the adventure that goes beyond that. And what happens beyond that is the next part of the campaign picks up 6 months later. And so this very much is a prologue campaign for players who want to be continuing their adventures. Now, if people want to take this prologue and then go into their own homebrewed campaign within the world of the Weave of the Void, absolutely cool to do that. But the official campaign, the official live stream campaign that we're going to be doing starting in June, which is when the books launch, um, we're going to be going through the Escape from Carthona module, and then the campaign skips 6 months, and we pick up again with the adventures after that. Um, so there was some brainstorming between my brother and I. So I'm having a brain fart. We were brainstorming about whether or not to have that as a standalone thing, and we decided it was better to include it as a prologue. Now, we still might pull it out and have it be a separate thing. I don't know. Still undecided on that note. But I think it makes sense to have it in there. What we might do is when we go do the hardback stuff with the Kickstarter, we might pull it out and have it be its own thing at that point. Um, and I can justify it then because it'll be a bigger book. It'll have more artwork. We can put more stuff in it. We could have that be stretch goal campaigns to add more side quests in there. We could maybe even design some side quests with some of the backers, stuff like that. So yeah. Anyway, I've been working on the artwork. Today, I actually was the day that I went in and I added the Escape from Parthana module to the original book, and I went through and I'm doing the first polish pass. I say polish pass, it's not polish. It's the first ever editing pass that I've done to the Escape from Parthana module. So I wrote draft one and I just let it sit for the past few months. So I'm going through the first time and I'm just readjusting paragraphs and I'm cutting things and snipping things and adding things and getting rid of bad grammar and things like that, catching any mistakes that I see. That's going to be 2 or 3 days of that. And then I got to go take all the maps with POIs and put those into that. And the maps with POIs, I actually have to go add the POIs to the maps, which is something, if you remember from the discussions I was having previously on the updates for the Weave in the Void, um, I was leaving the POI stuff for the last. And so we're kind of getting to that now. We're getting to the point where I'm in layout phase the entire month of April. So all I'm doing in April is I'm getting every piece of art that I actually have into the books. As I get new art from Nathan, that's going into the books. As I get the maps, those are going in, as I get the POI parts of the maps done, those are going into the books. And just completely fleshing these out so they go from being just text only to being something that's bigger and better. So that's the month of April. I'm only working on that for that project. Then, theoretically, I'm pre-recording this on Saturday, so theoretically on the 3rd of April, which is tomorrow from a recording standpoint, but yesterday from a viewing standpoint, unless my internet craps out, my brother and I are scheduled to do a live stream walkthrough of the work that has been done to Marin's Rest from the point and click adventure game over the past few months. So we did a live stream on December 20th or 18th, something like that. The YouTube video is on the 20th, but I think we did the live stream on Twitch on like the 18th. Um, we're going and doing a live stream again for the first time in like 3+ months, and we're showing the update that's been made, all the progress that's been made to Marin's Rest, and where we're at with that. We're shooting for the end of the year for the launch for that, so that'll be Christmas time, maybe earlier, but end of the year is the ideal scenario. That might get sped up. It just depends on things like Patreon. If more people go to the Patreon and pre-order, and we get enough funding for Joey to justify staying home more hours instead of going out and working on his ranch, then he'll do so. Or if we get funding from some strange, crazy source, which we're not really looking for funding, but you never know. We did apply for a couple of grants, so if those come through, but we're not planning on using the grant money for ourselves so much as we are to pay for artists like Nathan and etc. and marketing. So we'll see. Book chapters are doing well. People are really liking the book chapters, so I'm really happy about that because the book chapters, as they're published on Patreon, are very much in a rough format. It's draft 1.0. I literally write the chapters, and then the night before they're supposed to go live, I do a very quick read through and I just fix the most blatant spelling mistakes. But there's definitely repetitive word use throughout those chapters. There's some misused words. I noticed one today in chapter 11, which was published several weeks ago. Um, so it is what it is. But I love the fact that people are like Sparrow's really enjoying it, and then Liam or Hemvar in Discord today said something along the lines of I guess he had just finished reading chapter 11, which is why I caught the error because he went and left a comment on chapter 11, and I went back and reread the chapter because I couldn't remember what chapter it was, and I saw a word that was not the right word, and I was like, oh crap, I need to fix that, but it has to be fixed in the Word document, not on the Patreon page. It needs to be fixed at both places, but what I'm getting at is I'm not the Patreon posts, I'm very glad that they're being well received like that, despite the fact that they're in a 1.0 draft stage. Because eventually that all gets taken out from Patreon and compiled into a book. When I have probably, it'll be around 50 chapters. Once we're around 50 chapters is when I'm going to be considering that book finished. I don't actually have the outline finished. If for those of you who have been following along Patreon forever, I think the outline's only up to like chapter 35 or something. Um, 35 would only have me around. I'm gonna do some math real quick, and I'll tell you. I think that'll only be like 75,000 words. Oh, that's my math sucks. That'd be about 87,500 words. So I mean, we'd end up with a 90,000 word novel at 35 chapters, but I would rather have this be something bigger. But we'll also see where we're at. Just where the story feels like it needs to be. I'm not trying to write Way of the Kings, Way of Kings or whatever. I'm not trying to be Brandon Sanderson writing 400,000 word novels. Um, that's Echoes of the that's my Saga of Lucimia stuff. Which, by the way, on a side note, somebody asked me recently. I know Liam was part of that conversation, but people were asking me if I'm ever going to do an audio version, an audio book of Echoes of the Past, and it just got me thinking. I've talked about this in the past. How whenever I get back around to going back to Saga of Lucimia, Um, I'm gonna rename it. I'm gonna rename it. It's gonna get reworked into something else, and we're going to call it something else. The reason for that being is I don't, you know, the people who did what they did tainted that project, and it's not something that I want to work on anymore because it's like it's when someone takes a big shit in your bowl of Cheerios. You're not going to want to go back and eat that bowl of Cheerios again, right? You're going to throw it out. However, um, everybody who read Echoes of the Past loved it, and we had quite a few people who bought that book. And I know it was very well received. And I wrote half, not quite half. I got like maybe 30% into book two, and I've had the outlines done since like 2008. I want to finish that book series. That is for me. Saga of Lucimia is definitely my first passion, and everything else. That world, that lore. And all I have to do to make it better is to change the name and go back and revisit things. However, one of the things I'm going to be doing when I do that, I've made this decision, and this is not a now project. This is a in a few years when I get there. And I've mentioned this before in the past, but I've finalized what's going to happen with that and how that's going to happen. Basically, um, I'm going to go back, and when I redo it, I'm going to pull in sections of book two and put them into book one, and I'm going to make book one even bigger. So I had like a 200,000 word novel. I think it came out to like 202,000 or something. Um, don't let me get sidetracked. Hold on. Copy that. Period. I should be good. I think I cut it down from like 212,000 down to like 202,000, something like that. But there are elements now that I want to pull in from book two because even book one had a good ending, right? Um, and who knows? Maybe I'll do like Tad Williams did, and we'll have a smaller book one, a bigger book two, and then a really big book three. That's something else I could do, like he did with the Dragonbone chair. But there are elements of book one that I want to pull in. Um, Also, just from a writer's standpoint, I would love to flesh some more stuff out because I've had more time to think about things, and I've been influenced now by the work on the Weave and the Void. There's definitely some similarities between the magic systems, but one of the things I was doing with Saga of Lucimia was in book two, which no one has read yet. I ought to let some of you read that. Honestly, I ought to let you read what's been written so far. That might be a fun thing to do for patrons. Mm. Or a private video on YouTube. Ooh, that might be fun too. I'll figure something out. Patrons is probably the way to go though, because we have way more patrons, and I like to push people to the Patreon page. So maybe I'll do that. Is maybe we'll do maybe I'll publish the chapters for patrons as like a special Patreon thing, and then maybe I'll do a reading of those for members on YouTube, like a reading of those chapters. Anyway, I was writing the history of the humans before they came to the realms, and I was talking about things like they had tablets and cell phones, and the first humans that arrived brought with them their cell phones and their tablets on the ships and everything else, and they lasted for a while until the batteries ran out. So I was very much dealing with a technological civilization that had fallen. Their continent had gone under, and they had to escape in ships. And they sailed across the ocean and landed in the realm of Lucimia, where it was just elves and Dwerhe and the Eldenhai and the Dwerhe and so on and so forth. I dealt with similar matter in Leaving the Void, where we have the remnants of humanity coming north with their quantum relics and things of that nature. Anyway, I'm rambling here at this point. I'm going to rework Saga of Lucimia at some point. I'm going to expand the first book, change the name, um, change. I don't know that I'll change the name of any of the characters, but definitely change the name of the setting. It will no longer be Saga of Lucimia. We'll call it the Saga of something else. And we will be changing the name of some of the kingdoms and things of that nature to move it further away. That will get weird work at some point because I really want to finish it out because I have 4 books planned for that, and those outlines have been there for you know 15 years. So it needs to be finished. Whereas Weaving the Void is something that we just started a year and a half ago. So shit, I'm 40 minutes in. Yeah, I can't think of anything else I need to talk about. So big thing is that the tabletop books are due out in June. I'm in layout mode all April. Also, on the point and click game, I'm doing dialogue and descriptions for the next section all throughout the month of April. My brother and I are actually meeting this week to talk about the next step so that we can plan out because he's got all the scenes laid out in the next section of Marin's Rest. So we need to do a scene breakdown and figure out what dialogue needs to go from where, what NPCs do we need, and then I can start fleshing out those scenes with description and dialogue. And then we'll need beta testers. Um, well, technically alpha testers. Um, so for those of you who want to be doing some alpha testing, that'll probably be coming up on the chopping block like July, um, maybe July or August. And if you're a subscriber at that hardcore tier, which I think is $25 a month, you get the video game, you get the point and click game, plus you get access to the alpha testing, plus you get all the tabletop books, plus you get the book chapters and a pre-order copy of the book, all that other stuff. There's a lot of reasons to pre-order at that $25 a month tier. If you want to just get your hands on the tabletop books, look at the $15 a month tier. And if you just care about getting a final copy of the first book in the Weave in the Void, that's the $8 a month tier. And if you don't care about getting any of those products and you just want to read the chapters because you like to read something and you want to support the channel, that's what the $3 a month tier on Patreon is for. It's a general support tier. You still get access to the Patreon channel in Discord. So there's a special section for patrons where we share screenshots and previews that no one else gets to see. And you get book chapters twice a month with some other random posts from time to time, as well as expense reports, which is about time to start. I think it's about time to do another expense report soon. We haven't really spent any money other than paying for Nathan's artwork. Um, so anyway, thanks everybody for listening as I went into nearly a 45-minute episode today. I think that's all I have to talk about today. At some point, I will be starting to put documentation videos up on YouTube about our house remodel, showing what it was like when we first got here and then what it's looked like now that we're getting remodeled. So stick around for that stuff. In the meantime, subscribe, hit the bell icon, like the video, join our Discord. Links are down below. Join as a member here on YouTube if you'd like, but better yet, subscribe over on Patreon. Pick up a pre-order of one of your favorite things and support the project that we're working on. And hopefully we'll see you in the next episode, everybody. Stay tuned. I got lots more fun stuff. And don't forget, later on today, the first episode of Mondays in Middle Earth. Have fun, everybody. Till next time.